Okay, so you've been working on exercise 1 here in your working files location. And you need to prep stuff for final files and files to client or vendor. Remember, we're not using process files. So let's talk through how you would do that. So I'm going to go here, see your working files. This is where I've been working on stuff. Here's my links where you'll probably just have one in here, but anything that you, like say you pulled a photograph or another logo into your After Effects file, this is where you would want to make sure that file is saved first. So then, but for most of y'all, from what I can tell, you'll just have your University of Tulsa link in here. So let's open up this folder. And I've done several iterations. Maybe I've worked with different logos. I've done all kinds of different things here in After Effects, and now I'm ready to prep my final files. So under here, per the instructions, you would go, after you're completely done, please go to File, Dependencies, Collect Files, and save the folder in Final Files, and name the folder first name, last initial, E1-final. So let's do that. So here I've got my file open from the working files. I'm going to go to File, Dependencies, Collect Files. Make sure all is selected, and it's telling me, hey, you've only got one file. That's correct, because I'm only working with that University of Tulsa logo. Collect. And then I'm going to go and find where I've been working. So I've been working here in Downloads under Exercise 1. But remember, I want to save this newly created dependencies folder to Final Files. But let's look here. The naming is wrong. So I need to correct this to Final. Save it here. Hit Save. Okay. So I'm going to close this in After Effects. Come over here to Final Files. See here, now we've created this folder. Open up our newly created file. Actually, let's close that. And let's name this Final. Open it up now. And say, this project, this exercise, you're probably not going to do a lot of this, but you'll most likely do it in future problems and exercises. So what you'll want to do is just make sure that you clean up anything that you don't want to show. So in this instance, you'll probably want to show me all your iterations, but let's say you have one here that you're just like, nope, I don't want to show that one. It's junk, it's confusing, like I didn't end up doing anything with it. Just clean up all of your files here until it's just the stuff that you want to show me. It's like your final, I want to show you stuff. Now, let's go over here to A, and let's say this was my favorite one that I definitely want to export as a video. Now, you can export all of these. You just need to be on them here down in the timeline. You just need to be on them when you export them. And you also need to make sure that this large bar here has the full space that you're working with. And you will want to export all 5 seconds. So it shouldn't look something like this, because that's all that will end up being exported. You want to export the whole thing. Okay, so I'm here on, let's say we want to export A. So then I would go, well, let's say D. Yeah, that was the one I played around with. Okay, so we've got our whole work area. It's end to end, and we're going to export D. So we would go to File, like per the instructions that you found on LinkedIn Learning. You would want to go to File, Export to Adobe Media Encoder. And now you might get something like this. Yours might show something like that, match source high bitrate. So in the tutorial video you watched, the author came down here on this preset browser and dragged up a preset. You can do that. You can also select them from the drop down here. please select YouTube 1080p Full HD. This will prep and compress the file and prepare it for YouTube. So last thing that we need to do before we hit render is tell this file where to go. So right now it's going to the wrong place. Let's look at that. So if we go over here to our instructions, we say per the video instructions, export to media encoder, and make an MP4 file named first name, last initial, E1 final.mp4. And then we'll put that MP4 inside the files to client or vendor folder. So right now though, it's showing up in a subfolder within final files, and we don't want that. And it also is showing up as the wrong name. So let's select the right folder here, and then let's change it to our first name, last initial, E1 final. And it'll put that .mp4 on it. We don't need to worry about that. Hit save. Now it pops up here. So we've got the right settings. We've got the right location. Now let's hit play. And it'll render. And hopefully your video is much more interesting than mine. So let's go find that file. Here it is. Let's open it up just to make sure that it's rendering the way that we want. There we go. Okay. So we're done with After Effects. We're done with Media Encoder. Now we just need to get this stuff up to OneDrive before class starts at the due date. So I'm over here in OneDrive. Now yours here will say your name here, but for the purposes of this demonstration, I'm just doing this in a folder called All Students. But here we got exercise 1, and we don't have any of the file structure in here yet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the place that I've been working and just drag all of these up to OneDrive. And then they'll load. And the last thing I want you to do is make sure, once everything's uploaded, come in here and make sure it's got the stuff that you set up, like your video, that it's working the way you want. The video will probably show up kind of low res since this is over OneDrive. That's fine. And then I've got my final files. Yep, they're all there. Here's my footage. Yeah, we're good to go there. And just keep moving through your exercise 1 files to make sure that everything is uploaded the way you want. And now you're good to go. Go treat yourself, have some fun, or work on a different project.